Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg, and it is, the 17th day, favorite number of September 2024, and welcome to our show. We're going to jump right into Lawful Defense with John Tater talking about resolutions as well as censorship. And then in 10 o'clock, Jalise is going to do a 2-hour show with, Jalise Middleton, J6ers, Political Prisoners in America, with Phillip, Vogel, and Kash Kelly. And with that said, bringing on my buddy, John Tater, Tatar Tuesdays. What's happening, John?
How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing really good.
Well, all kinds of things are happening, actually.
Yeah?
Just want to make a note here for us. We got a new website.
Okay.
It's called Magnificent Republic.
Oh, okay, cool. Let's bring it up.
And it, of course, is going to have all of our videos that we produce here on Tuesdays attached to the video, so you can watch it if you want to. So if you can backtrack and pick up a particular video you want to watch, you can watch it on our website. Plus, we talk about the Constitution. Plus, we talk about when we're meeting, where we are meeting. And it's not all up and running 100% yet, but we have got to start on it. So just let you know, let everybody else know out there that the website is up and running at this point. There you go.
Very cool.
But we're going to list them all eventually when we get.
Oh, that's very cool. Let's put this one on. See what's going on here.
Incredible fire torch lighter will burn through literally.
That's the problem with those darn commercials.
No matter what Mother Nature throws at you.
Ads.
Insane electric lighter is the ultimate.
You know what?
Tool.
If you can post it.
There's one simple skin tag hack that anyone can use to remove skin tags on demand. Did you know that you can wash away skin?
Legislature. So you got that one right.
Very cool.
The legislature can
All right. So wonderful. So yeah, anyhow, well, I've got a million things going on right now and I'm trying to stay focused, but I'm going to tell you what, it's pretty difficult this morning. So I've got a couple of big projects that I'm working on. And so that's kind of got me partially distracted this morning, but I'll try to focus here. Focus, people, focus. So what are we talking about today? We've got censorship, and then also U.S. Taxpayers Party of Michigan. We pushed through 5 resolutions. I kind of started that as a chairman of the resolutions committee. I wrote 5, and then a bunch of people jumped on. I said, okay, now we need to get a group together, and we're going to smooth this out. And Becky McDonald did a wonderful amount of work on it. Karen the Riveter put a bunch of work into it. Bill Moore put a bunch of work into it. And then there were other people that were involved in it too, and as well as yourself. And it was a good effort. I'm really proud of that. So yeah.
One thing we gotta plant in our brain as much as we can is that if it's not written in the Constitution that the state and or federal government has no authority to do it. A lot of the proposals or a lot of the resolutions that you talk about are things that the government has no authority to do in the first place. And so we have to go back to authority. Do you have the delegated authority to do what you're doing? And the one that I pick on the hardest is the red flag laws. They have no authority to do that. And in a court of law, if somebody gets picked up in a court of law for, or gets their guns taken away or whatever the case may be, or gets reported by some irate husband or wife or neighbor, that the government has no authority to remove your weapons under any circumstance. They have no authority unless you've committed a crime. And that's where we have to focus our attention on. We're giving them authority and then we're fighting their authority, which is ass backwards. And you got to do it the other way around. You have no authority to do that. You have no authority to lock down the Michigan people. You have no authority, Benson, to run the voting scam on the people. You have no authority. There's no authority given to you by anybody. The legislature cannot delegate authority to another branch of government. Can't be done. And so what we do is we say, okay, well, they did it. They passed the law that says they're going to have to do this red flag. No, you have no authority to do that. You cannot pass a law that is not under your authority to do so. That's a violation of, number one, your oath of office. Number two, your office itself, because you've stepped outside your delegated authority. And number three, it's criminal. That's fraud, because you have no authority to do that. That's where we need to be focusing our attention on, even when we write resolutions. That should be the first words out of and I thought about this after we shut the program down on Thursday, after we talked about it for a while. I said, we're kind of going backwards on this thing. We're letting them do this to us, and then we're telling them then we're fighting them on their turf. It doesn't work that way in America. And so we have to turn that around a little bit and start with, you have no authority to do what you're doing, and focus in that direction. And that would wake up a lot of people too. Do you, Governor Whitmer, have the authority to force businesses to close down and lock down over a so-called emergency? No. Did the Constitution ever get suspended during an emergency? Which emergency? Show me one. Never happened. World War II. That was a conflict. That was a serious conflict, and they still voted for the president. And even Vietnam War under Johnson, when we were in the middle of the war, they still voted for the president. They still had an election. How do you have the authority to shut the election down? Or do you have the authority to suspend the Constitution? You don't. And so that's where we have to focus our attention to, because most of these people that sit in these offices are stupid and ignorant of what their job is and what they're supposed to be doing while they're in that office. So as we do the resolutions, let's think about how we can incorporate that part of the resolution right off the bat. You have no authority to do this.
That's a good focus to be on, because I've got about 25 more of them sitting in the queue that I'm going to write, and then we'll go. And then we're going to go back and we're going to smooth the rough edges off of that, so that we can continue to hold them accountable. And I think this is really an extraordinary effort that we're going to be able to push forward and get out there. And the censorship that's been so bad out there. And you want to know something else that I really see happening a lot out there, is that instead of working together, people are trying to commandeer things. It's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but when we're working together, we need to give each other credit, and absolutely, so that it's not trying to capture the flag. I've seen that a lot. That's a form of censorship in my mind. I saw that with a lot of the influencers that are out there, who will in fact, how do I say it? They're trying to build their own little fiefdoms.
And
it's all for money. They refuse to credit the people around them, because they're trying to be superstars instead of trying to give other people voices. And I've got a real problem with it. And whether we acknowledge it or not, that's a form of censorship. It's silencing somebody's voice, or it's grabbing their voice for building of an audience. And I see it all the time. It's incredible. And what we've been talking about lately is the personal choices that people make, and whether they have the integrity to do the right thing, or is it just me first, me. That's the thing with censorship, is it goes back to personal power and gain.
After Chevron was defeated, because prior to Chevron, the nonsense was that the authorities had the knowledge, but there are really no authorities. These public functionaries are not authorities or leaders or any of that stuff. They are just public servants, or better yet, public functionaries. They have a function in government to do. And we need to go back to that logic and that understanding. You're hired to do a specific job, not to think in terms of how I can stretch my power beyond my delegated authority, but follow my delegated authority that was given to me because the people voted for me and voted me into office. That's what they have to be doing, those public functionaries. However, over the years, the deep state and or whatever you want to call them, the evil empire or whoever, those people have been at it for a long time to try to take over America and destroy the Constitution. They've been at it for hundreds of years. We've only been at it since 2016. Actually, we've been at it longer than that because we put the plan in place longer before 2016. But the battle has been going on to take over America and destroy the country for years. And those people that are still asleep and haven't figured that out, it's time to wake up. It's time to say, hey, what is the history of our country and how did it come to this point? Because the history of our country kind of lays out, if you're looking at it, kind of lays out how we got to this place where we have a government that's attempting to be a dictator, and where we have public functionaries running amok, so to speak, doing their own thing. We need to stop that. And the way we stop that is put the Pandora back in its box. You know, you have a delegated duty to do while you're governor, and that's all. Beyond that, you have no authority.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of that going on with people trying to grab instead of find your own happiness in life, and stop trying to take from others. I think it goes back to that, really. The power and the money thing is it's just crazy. It's crazy why that's so alluring to people. I really don't understand it.
The banking system.
It's the banking system is part of it. The banking system preys on the weaknesses of human beings.
Well, yeah, that's
okay.
true.
Like, take away a gun and people are going to find a machete. Do you know what I mean? It's like, if people want to do evil, they're going to find a way to do it. And the core of the issue is the spiritual condition of individuals. That I really believe that. I really do. And so there are the people that are behind, say, the banking system and everything else. They're opportunists. They know what people are willing to do. They know what's inside human beings, and they put things out there to not only use to manipulate, but take advantage of others.
That's true.
I'm going to go back to the government. Okay, the government is a representation of us.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that many people that have the integrity to do the right thing under all circumstances. I really personally don't. That is a huge problem until we have that come to Jesus moment where people do the right thing and they learn to have that integrity. We're going to continue to have this problem and trying to, put barriers or boundaries there to stop people from doing the wrong thing or eliminate the problem. We can take away the central banking system, but until we solve the problem at a base level, I think God's going to solve it. I think he's going to tear this thing down. I really do. And we're going to see an incredible crash. I mean, it's historically that pattern repeats. If we can't get it figured out, he'll figure it out for us, And
he figures it out through us. That's
he'll kind of put a little bit of pain in our way in order to readjust our attitude to what's important. It's like a dad, right?
Yeah, you like it's been said before by more than one politician. I'm going to use that word because it's a slimy word. As it's been said before by many politicians, you get the government you want. You get the government you voted for. And that's what we have had over the years. We voted these governments in. Are you going to vote against George Bush or who's that other idiot that ran against them, or Bill Clinton or whoever? And you voted for them. You wanted that government. That's what you asked for, and you got it.
Well,
now
and
it's time to wake up.
The thing of it is that we've got to get past these headlines and look at what we really have instead of living in Disney World politics.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is a big deal right now. And I'm just going to continue to use that term. Just made it up right now, but it's Disney World. It's Disney World or fantasy world politics.
Disney.
Because honestly, people want to believe in the princess that gets saved by the prince, and everything lives happily ever after, right? And we're gonna have everything that looks in this shiny thing. But you know what? When you strip away all of the glitz and the fake glamour and the Hollywood nonsense and the tricks and that sort of thing, you have got a horror show running this nation.
Yeah.
And until we grow up and stop buying into the Disney World politics, I've gone to a couple of meetings. I went to a meeting lately that I sat in there and I was so disgusted at the lack of base level ability to assess a situation. I couldn't even believe what I was seeing and hearing. I just literally sat there and I was kind of like, okay, we're still in kindergarten with figuring out what's being said. We're still going back to the talking points of the masks. And that was a chip shot of what was going on. There are so many more things that we need to go down and figure out besides that it's time to move on past those things which were immediately in our face. They were. But to fixate on them like this is the hill to die on, it kind of was and it is. But now what are you going to do with it? And to just sit there and bitch about it and continue to talk about these same talking points, we're not figuring out what was behind it. We're not assessing the people that are behind the talking points to continue to lead us astray. And I'm going to go back to my point on this, that I think a lot of those people that are in those places to the grassroots groups, I think they're feds.
Well, they're part of the system. I don't know if they're actually federal or carrying a badge, but they are part of the corrupt system. Yeah,
they're in it. Somebody is paying these people to sit in these groups and continue
or giving them power.
Yeah, and they are literally somebody is placing them there. I could name a handful of them. I won't right now because it's like everybody needs to get this figured out by themselves. But if you look at the people that were behind destroying the Tea Party that popped up again, and all of a sudden they're grassroots gurus or they're pushing issues and such, they're the same people. Yep. I agree. And people are still following them because they've become micro celebrities. Like, we had Hollywood. Now we got a whole nother raft of them that are coming up under another guise.
Yep, I agree.
And the grassroots groups are doing the same thing that the political party's doing, just in a small space. And I want to hear that. But you know what? I'm not getting paid enough to lie to people. That's what's going on.
As far as censorship goes, I was trying to get the Eileen Cannon case out to the group, and I think you got a copy of it finally. I tried it the first time to send it out last week, and I get a pop-up on my email saying that this is a possible scam and we're not going to send it. So then I tried to do it in a couple other different ways and I couldn't do it. So I called my friend Ron over and we scanned it in 4 parts. Actually, we scanned it in first 2 parts, scanned in pretty well. The last 2 parts wouldn't scan in. It only scanned half of it, and then the scanner would stop. I couldn't figure that one out. What the heck?
Well, there's a lot of AI. There's a lot of AI out there, which is commandeering things. And unless you're really good at tech, you're screwed. And it not being you personally, but they will take it down. And it's like, it's incredible to see how many of these providers. Have you ever taken a look at the down detector? That this is a perfect example of.
So let me finish while you're digging for that. I then got we then scanned it in 4 parts because we could finally get it through in 4 parts and put it together. And then I put it on Yahoo, and it wouldn't send it out because it said it was a potential scam. So then I took the first 2 parts and I sent those out. I was going to send them part by part. So I sent the first 2 out, and it went out on Yahoo. Yahoo did allow it to go out, but Yahoo would not let part 3 and part 4 go out. And I'm going, what the heck is going on? So then I went to Gmail and I sent it out on Gmail, the last 2 parts. So both parts went out, all 4 parts went out, but on 2 different emails. It took me to get it out to the people. Why? It does have Norton cited in there, and my friend Ron says, yeah, it's because Norton was on there. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. And AI, yeah, maybe AI saw Norton and shut it down automatically. I don't know. I can send Norton out without a problem, but I couldn't send Eileen Cannon's case out, U.S. versus Trump. I had difficulty. We spent over an hour and a half putting it on the internet and getting it out to my group. It was ridiculous.
Wow. So here's something that's really interesting to watch because, I own a tech company, so we kind of watch this stuff. But here is a way to monitor, and you can watch. The spikes are almost always the same in the same type of providers. You'll see the same spike. So you know that you can make some, like a lot of them, like look at how close the spikes are to several of these. You could actually overlay them and see the similarities in them. Look at these guys right here, the similarities in them, and then do some info, analysis, and you can. But this is real interesting. And when things went down during the Republican National Committee, I was kind of watching that because and seeing, because there was definitely outages across this. Rumble has a very hard time staying up, and on days they have a hard time keeping Rumble up quite often. And when everything else was down, we were still up with Brandenburg News Network, which I thought was really amusing. But we can keep ourselves up. But a lot of the other providers are the ones that have a hard time staying up.
You're obviously not a big enough threat yet.
Keep working
at it. Keep working at it.
Yeah. Keep working. Yeah, either that or it's like when we put the Tor nodes up, they stopped attacking us. So it's like it's not going to do them any good. They can attack us, and we're just gonna throw it out there on the dark web, and that's what we did. So and we did it in a way that was kind of, I'm going to say, I'm pretty proud of. So
that's good.
That's one of those screw you to all of them. So at any rate, kind of a fun thing. But
censorship is alive and well. And you know what? If you don't like to hear what I'm saying, change the channel.
And also remember, you've got to change the channel off of them and to get into real research. But then when you share, credit your sources, because we shouldn't be seeing each other as a competition. That's absolutely wrong. And that's what the hell's wrong with this entire United States. We should see each other as, if we go up together, you go up together, and it's not a competition. We can go up together rather than this. When you go up like this, you're censoring people around you, whether you like it or not. Yep. That's absolutely what's happening. So with that said, I'm going to bring forward, let's see, I got to see where all this stuff went. I want to bring forward some of the resolutions that we wrote, and we can talk about them. And I want to see hear your opinion on how we ended up with it. What did you think of the process? I think we got better at it as it went along.
Yeah, I think it was a little long overall. It probably should be a shorter process and maybe 2 or 3 processes in a week instead of one.
Well, I think what we're going to need to do is so here is. Let me see if I can take this down. One of the things we did was repealing red flag laws.
Well, that is my favorite because they don't have the authority to write such a law.
Right.
Who wrote the law, by the way?
Criminals in the seats.
No, I mean specifically, where did the law come from?
I don't know the answer to that question. I didn't really go there. We were working on.
Is it Congress that wrote it, or is it the executive that wrote it?
I think they're doing most of this through executive orders, if you really want to know the truth.
Yeah. Does the executive branch have the power to write a law?
No.
No, they only have the power to enforce the law.
Because what we found is that's what happened with the Dropbox, the API, the lawsuit that I filed, the pro se one. And so that was actually written by the executive branch. And so
they have no authority to do that.
They have no authority to do that. But when I'll read this one out, and there's more in my Telegram channel, but we kind of smooth this out. Whereas the Second Amendment of the Bill of Rights protects the unalienable and natural rights of the people to keep and bear arms granted to us by our Creator. And this right is necessary in the security of a free state, including specifically as protection throughout history against a tyrannical government, which has established a pattern of direct attack against its own people. Whereas the Second Amendment is not subject to any qualifiers or alterations, and it shall not be infringed. Whereas Thomas Jefferson defined infringement in the Statute on Virginia's Religious Freedoms in 1786 as to repeal or narrow the operation of the natural right. Whereas red flag laws, Extreme Risk Protection Order Act, MCL 691-180-1 at sequence, infringe upon the natural rights of individuals to keep and bear arms for the defense of themselves and their state, Michigan Constitution, Article 1, Section 6. Whereas red flag laws have been and are expected to be used to harass and intimidate law-abiding Americans, which result in the violations of the Second Amendment rights. Whereas we find that those involved in initiating and executing red flag laws and violating the rights of Americans are currently not held accountable for their actions. Let's see. Whereas we find that those involved in initiating and executing red flag laws and violating the rights of Americans are currently not held accountable for their actions. Whereas the unwarranted seizure of firearms or any other property is a violation of the natural rights of people protected by the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution, whereas any law to repeal the rights of people to keep and bear arms would be nothing more than pretended legislation, Declaration of Independence, and every enforcement of them would be a criminal usurpation, whereas the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Michigan are the supreme law and authority of the land. As such, they cannot be suspended or under any circumstances infringed upon, and are to be used in any legal matters in question. Marbury versus Madison, U.S. 137, 1803. Now, therefore, be it resolved that all red flag laws be repealed immediately. Be it further resolved that the right to defend oneself, one's property, one's family against any threat, foreign or domestic, is a fundamental right that shall be upheld and protected. Be it further resolved that those who have been involved in initiating and or enforcing red flag laws, usurping authority never granted, harassing Americans, and violating the rights of any individual of these United States of America to keep and bear arms shall be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Be it finally resolved that copies of this resolution be transmitted to the governor of Michigan, members of the Michigan legislature, and other relevant public functionaries. We put that in for you, to express the U.S. Taxpayer Party of Michigan's opposition to the red flag laws according to the protections of our Constitution, signed the U.S. Taxpayers Party. So we went after we met with the committee. The Central States Committee went through each and every one of them and went over all of the submitted requests, and this was the one that we voted to accept, the version.
Okay. Well, again, I am saying that the red flag laws are unnecessary. I mean, not the red flag laws, but the authority to write the red flag law is unnecessary because it's in a violation of the Constitution. And if it isn't in the Constitution, they don't have the delegated authority to do that. So they have violated their oath of office right off the bat. Whitmer signed this into law, and so she should be, I just looked it up on the internet, she signed it, and I suspect that the legislature passed it. So we need to find out which legislature was involved in passing this red flag law. And this needs to go to them specifically, with a caveat at the end that you have violated your delegated authority and therefore you are subject to law. You're subject to a lawsuit with heavy fines and violations of your oath of office, that kind of thing. So we need to find out who put this law into effect and go after those individual people as individuals. As I say before, you can't go after them as the legislature. You got to go after them as individuals in the legislature. And if it's all, I don't know how many legislators do we have in Michigan, but if it's 150, then it has to go to every one of them. 150 would be nice to have their name at the top somewhere that this pertains to you, Mr. Legislator. And I don't even know their names. So that's the way we need to address these red flag laws, because just to put it out in the public doesn't hit home, so to speak. So obviously one goes to Whitmer because she signed it in violation of her oath of office, because she has no authority to do that, because in the Constitution she's violated both the state constitution and the federal constitution, and she is in violation of not only her oath of office but in violation of of her job description. So that's the way we have to address these, or send them to these individuals specifically. And if, like I say, if you just put it out in the public, it won't mean anything, because these legislators think that they can get away with whatever they want to do. They look at it and they'll say, "Oh yeah, it's a nice piece of toilet paper that you can wipe your rear end with, but we're not paying attention to it." But if you put their name specifically on it, and you say that you are subject to a lawsuit, that will get their attention.
So, okay, this is the second one. It's resolution for nullification and remedy for the 2020 general election. That's a very long resolution, and I'm gonna
probably too long.
It's a long resolution. Let me hold on a minute. I gotta. What the heck? Hold on a minute. All right, enough of this. I have no idea why this is.
Maybe we're being censored.
There, it's what?
Maybe we're being censored a little.
I don't know. This is funny. So let me go up and
stuff comes up. Why?
Yeah, I've got all the resolutions up here, and it should have gone in order, and for some reason, it just decided not to. Let me move up here just a little further.
We are watching you.
Here we go. What's that?
We are watching you.
Yeah, it's seriously right. I know they're all watching all the time. So, watch away. Got nothing to hide. Okay, so here's the other resolution. Resolution on protecting the United States borders and upholding the rule of law. That's another one. Resolution of the elimination of corrupt voting systems and return to paper ballots, hand count, precinct level reporting. Resolution for the immediate cessation of payments and support to non-citizens. Resolution for repealing red flag laws. And last but not least, the resolution for nullification and remedy for the 2020 general election. And I think this is a great start, however, with getting this put into a form that all of us can actually jump on and go after together. I think this is really important, and it is a first step. And I would invite anyone to come to the U.S. Taxpayers Party to fight with us and stand with us on these resolutions, and also to pass this information around to other people. Because since the Republican Party and the Democrat Party are doing nothing except for arguing who brings cookies to their fundraisers, and
What kind of cookies?
What's that?
What kind of cookies?
Yeah, what kind of cookies are we bringing to the fundraiser? And who are we going to put in the cult of personality in place to do exactly what the idiots that came on before them did? And I mean, that's what's happening here. We're actually doing something. And the lawsuits that are being filed are significant. We are in a position to be involved in a significant fight here, and not sitting there fighting over cookies and all the other nonsense that's going on. Or it's like, that's great. Get people involved, but get them involved in something that's significant. So there you go.
I was kind of thinking and kind of impressed that the first lawsuit that you signed on to, going after the public functionaries in Lansing for election fraud, though I think that's not going to go anywhere because of the way it's set up, it's still going to cause them a little bit of upset stomach, because they're going to have to answer the lawsuit. So I think that's a good thing. They're going to have to hire attorneys, or even if they cost the state to pay for it, they're still going to have to hire attorneys to answer the complaint. Maybe the attorney general will answer the complaint. And then your lawsuit comes up against the three for a different purpose, but basically the same thing. I'm thinking maybe I need to file one. And that way they have three to get excited over. And maybe somebody else out there will file a fourth and fifth. That's what we need, about 10 lawsuits against these public functionaries, all of a sudden demanding, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million per person to get their attention.
Yeah.
Because the red flag laws resolution isn't going to do that. What
it is it's a start, though, John.
I'm not saying that you gotta kind of tell them that, you know what, you're violating the law, and if you continue to violate the law, you will be sued. You got to tell them that before you even file a lawsuit. Otherwise, the court system will basically throw it out saying that you have not fulfilled your administrative requirement to try to stop this before you took it to court. The court is the last resort.
Well, realize this is notice.
This is notice. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
After notice, something needs to follow.
Right.
And so you got a lot of people listening to the broadcast. A lot of people need to file a lawsuit.
Well, and I think this is one of those things that we've got to stand together, and I'm going to just say it. It's like this nonsense of fracturing our efforts so that we can have our own little personal glory and fiefdom needs to come to an end. And we need to do this together. And it's like what I see is people commandeering this sort of stuff and then trying to do it. And it's great. We need to do this on an individual basis. I get it. But if we moved as a group, we would actually be effective. They don't want us to move as a group. They want us to go off and try to do to do this in a fractional way rather than moving together.
But I'm not saying that. I'm not saying in a fractional way.
Yeah, I'm just warning you.
You have 30 people out there that say, yeah, this sounds like a great idea, and file 30 lawsuits. You're all filing a lawsuit based on the same arguments.
Right.
Similar arguments, because you're not writing the same lawsuit. You can't cookie cut the lawsuit, because if they rule against one, then they rule against 10. So you file your own particular lawsuit from your own particular area.
Right.
To answer it. Yes, I agree with you. But getting together 30 people and filing a class action, that's going to go nowhere. That's the wrong way to go. Individually, because now you got to answer 30 individual complaints. That's a problem.
Gray Bearded Fedora says today, 30 legitimate complaints against an attorney leads to disbarment. Same thing goes for judges. Yep. So, we've got 2 of them up there that are seated that should be disbarred. And that's Nessel and Benson should both be disbarred.
Yes.
But we go. I mean, if you go to the Judicial Tenure Commission, then but the point being is that the whole thing, the whole Michigan Bar, the whole Bar Association needs to be called out for what it is, which is a private membership association. It is not a license to practice law. That's they've got everybody believing this nonsense, just like it's the same thing as believing in the masks, that the masks are going to work. We got to get smarter than this, guys, and call it out for what it is. So
I went into a bank yesterday, Flagstar, in fact, to get some cash out of there. And the lady behind the plastic window was wearing a mask. So there you go. Still wearing a mask. What's the matter with you, lady?
You know what? When I see somebody wearing a mask, I immediately don't trust them. That's true. Because it's like, first of all, I make an assumption that they're stupid. And second of all, I make an assumption that they're virtue signaling or signaling to other people that they're part of the moron club.
Yes.
And I mean, or the criminal conspiracy to defraud the United States. That's immediately where my brain goes.
I agree.
They're part of the criminal conspiracy. I'm not saying conspiracy theory. I'm saying criminal conspiracy.
That's right. You got it. So I watched her very carefully count out the money.
So Leb says, Flagstar is the bankster we tried to sue to keep our house back in the early 2000s. You know what? They're all criminal at this point in time.
All banksters are banksters.
They are. I was talking to a friend last night she's got a restaurant, and we were talking about the corruption in the banking system and the fact I still believe that the banking system is going to fall. I really do.
It's definitely out. Definitely gone.
And you can see the behavior in the banks to try to duck out of going under faster. They're doing moves that are like panic moves. And so when you look at their panic moves, you can make an assumption that they're just holding on just by the little their little fingernails. They're holding on, and that they're doing things that they wouldn't normally do because they're trying to keep their bank alive. It's not going to work. They're going to go down, in my opinion. It's just a matter of time.
I went into Huntington once and had a check written by me. And I walked up to the counter and I gave them my passport. And they said, we're going to send you a text message on your telephone to prove it's you. I said, what? You got my passport, which has got a picture on it. And I pulled out my military retirement ID card. I pulled out their credit card. And they said, we got to send you a text message on your telephone. I said, my telephone is in the car. We got to send you. So I had to go to the car to get the telephone so they could send me the text message to prove it was me. What's that all about? I'm standing in front of you.
Yeah, no kidding.
This is the nonsense that they're going through.
Well, it's like right now when you look at the tracking that they're able to do, it's incredible the amount of tracking that every single step of our lives are being tracked.
That's right.
And you know what? The bad guys created this, but I really do believe that the good guys are using that technology against bad guys. And so, though I really have a problem with surveillance, I really do. We're in a situation right now where we're losing our country, and if you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to worry about. Because if it's sort of like putting the transparency out there for our government. And I don't like the process that's going on right now at all, not at all. But the reality is that if you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to worry about. And it's the same.
Well, I don't know.
It's a usurpation. I've got it. But, you know, people are bent out of shape about this. They're watching every single thing you do.
Oh, I agree they are. And I agree that if you're on the straight and narrow, you're probably safe from them to a degree. But the whole purpose of the Fourth Amendment was to prevent government with the power for surveilling the public. And of course, the Third Amendment, which says you can't put troops in people's houses, were for the same purpose, to prevent surveillance of the public. Because we were supposed to be anonymous and government could not track us. Now government can be listening to us, and you know how they can adjust what you say by bits and pieces, by changing the tenor of what your arguments are. They can make it sound like you are somebody else or that you have a different mindset than what you really do. They can do that. They have the power to do that. And we, the people, should not have our names, our numbers, our phone numbers, and all this stuff. We should have a great case of anonymity. I can't even say it. Anonymity. I didn't even say that right. To not allow surveillance of any kind to the public. We are to be private. That's the whole purpose. This public nonsense of who's doing what, and giving the government this information is dangerous. It's been dangerous ever since governments and kings and queens were invented, because they have an opportunity to twist the words and to twist your meaning and make it sound like you are somebody else, somebody that you have no intention in being, and then hang you for it or lock you in prison the rest of your life. The J6ers, for example, they showed up. And if you had a credit card and you used the credit card in Washington, later on, a year later, 2 years later, they came after you because you were in Washington and you could possibly be a J6er. So we're going to arrest you. This kind of nonsense should not be allowed in this country.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a setup and it's wrong. There's no two ways about it. I'm watching the comments in the chat here. It's shown that they're violating our sovereignty in cases legal tender, Yickwo Downs, which also includes the Constitution, Marbury, which is their oath, and Constitution, Jacobson's and Sure are constitutional, and Ex parte Young on constitutional statutes.
Sounds like somebody from our group.
Yeah, it's John Hawks.
So, okay, that guy's pretty sharp.
Yeah, he's real sharp. I met him. He came here to visit, and real super nice guy. Super nice guy, smart guy. So I know you're listening, John. So I'd say that whether you were listening or not, so that's okay. But yeah, it looks like today is one of those crazy days. It's like I got up and it's been chaotic, and I'm trying to juggle too many balls today. So if I feel a little bit chaotic, there's a reason for it. And I think we're getting somewhat attacked here because Jalise is supposed to be on in the next hour and her 10 o'clock canceled. So we're trying to move the schedule around and figure out whether we're going to just end it here and move the 11 o'clock because we don't have anybody for 10 right now, or if we're just going to punt. I've got a couple projects that I have to work on right now, and that's why I was hoping that she would take the 10 and the 11, and she did. But I think that we're absolutely being we're being attacked to a certain
yeah.
point. We're definitely being attacked. There's no two ways about it. And so let's see, Charlotte and Lev have commented a lot in doing their COVID thing in nursing homes. Again, selection virus, but that whole virus thing was so nonsense.
Anybody that's read Dr. Cowan or what the heck's his name? The big thick book about the rainbow. Oh God, I can't think of the name of the book. Those books realize that the whole scam of viruses is a scam. The viral community is a scam because viruses don't do what they're claiming them to do, jumping from person to person by breathing on them or touching a piece of metal that they touched. That's all nonsense. And anybody that's done any homework, Invisible Rainbow is the one I'm thinking of. Invisible Rainbow or Dr. Cowan about the scamdemic. And there's a ton of doctors out there that'll tell you that the viral nonsense is nonsense. It was something made up years ago. And it's been carried on for years and years and years. It didn't work in 1917 during the great pandemic. It was electronics, and it didn't work in 56. That was radar that was put on, and it didn't work in 72. That was satellites put out there. It was the electronics of the world that was bringing people, that was making people sick. It was a violation of your body electrically that caused you the problems. And now we have 5G. So put the pieces together, people. Wake up to reality. There is no spooky virus floating around that's going to get you. That's nonsense.
Well, actually, the thing of it is that when you use things that from what I've experienced or seen, if you use things like ivermectin and such, they work the same way. They kind of work on the viruses like they would on a parasite.
Well,
so, something to consider.
Yes, ivermectin and the other one that
hydrochloroquine.
Yes, those two work on exactly that. They fight viruses, or not viruses, but parasites that live in the body, parasites that cause things, and they might even be fighting parasites that cause cancer. We don't know. I mean, because we're not in the science field and we don't do the experimentation, but people need to start thinking about what is really going on in your body and take your medical health in your own personal hands and stop looking at those guys in the white lab coats.
Well, that's what I did when I got diagnosed with cancer. I just never went back because I knew they were lying, and I just decided to experiment on my own body and figure out what worked. Because when you get diagnosed with incurable cancer, and then all of a sudden you realize they don't know jack crap about any of this, and they have no intention of curing it, and all you got to do is be and see how the cancer industry works if you're on the inside, and you'll get a pretty good handle of that pretty fast. I never went back, and it was pretty shocking to me. But I'm that kind of person that I'm not afraid to die. So I was like, well, this is an interesting day. That's one of these days I'm going to do a really long show on that. And so, like, when I see people like Tudor Dixon, who I think is absolutely despicable for going out there and saying, I have cancer, my dad died, you should vote for me for governor. I'm like, well, my dad died during my run, and I had a cancer diagnosis, but I'll be damned if I'd throw that out there as pity points for anybody. And it's like, that's not the reason why you should vote for anybody in office, is because they were a victim. Or has problems. Everybody has problems. A person who gets voted into office should be able to stand through those problems and not sit there whimpering like a pathetic little, a pathetic person because they have problems. Everyone has problems. And that's not a reason to vote anyone in office. That's the dumbest reason to vote somebody in office, because that's how they manipulate us, is through our emotions. And I can talk about the whole cancer thing ad nauseum, okay? And tell you, I tell you things that probably would shock people. And the funny thing is I got it figured out, and I did it in a very personal way. And, it's like, they're never going to, I really, I never really talked about it much before, maybe about a month ago, because it's like, to me, it's not an important part of my life. And, it probably should be, but, I've got bigger issues for me than that one. That was, that wasn't as big of a deal to me as what you might think it would be, or a lot of people make it into. It's like, okay, so I guess I'm going to figure this out, because nobody else is there to help. And I thought it was kind of a challenge, and I thought it was an interesting challenge too. So for me, it was like not something to be sad about. In fact, I wasn't sad for 1 minute. Wasn't sad, wasn't upset, didn't feel sorry for myself. I just kind of like, okay, well, this is a different day. Let's move on and figure it out. And it's the way you handle all problems. It doesn't matter what the problems are. That is the only way to handle problems. As soon as your emotions are engaged, you're a dead person, because they're going to drive you right into stupid stuff that's going to kill you.
That's right. I agree with you.
Well, it's like, what are you going to do if you're on a battlefield and you got people shooting at you, and you start panicking and you're not thinking? You're going to run right into the line of fire, right? And it's the same thing that we have every day here. You do something stupid, they got your emotions activated, you're going to run right into the line of fire. You're going to get that jab. You're going to eat something or do something that's going to poison you. You're going to do something stupid because you're afraid. And that's the first thing that has to go. And the only way you can do that is turn to God Almighty and let him walk you through that situation and go, well, I don't know where this is going. Doesn't matter to me, because as long as I'm going where you want me to go, things are going to be okay. Whether I live or die doesn't matter to me, because I know where I'm going. And that's something that is escaping people.
And so I got the right shirt on today, and I didn't even know we were going there.
No, I didn't either. The only winning move is not to play the game. And honestly, I didn't know we were going to talk about that either. It's like, it's just one of those things that comes up. It's like when I listen to people talk about this, it's like, trust me, you probably don't know anything about what you're really dealing with. I had the privilege of having something that I got to experiment with my own body. And I can tell you exactly how this stuff works. And it's really kind of interesting when you just truly go off the grid and tell them to shove it right up their behinds, and then refuse to capitulate to their terror tactics of fear. That's the only way you can approach anything in life, whether it's politics, whether it's any situation. You got to run right to the fire and fix the problem. Don't bury it. Don't hand it off to somebody else. Figure it out yourself.
That's right. Exactly correct.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have to have anonymity on who we are. And that's why that's why we have to end this surveillance of the public.
Well, but I want you to think about this. Kind of, you know what? If you've got something, the ones that they knock off and they arc inside are the ones that kind of do, a half effort to get this out there. If somebody threatens you, like I had somebody on X yesterday that comes from a channel called Don't Vote for Donna Brandenburg in the chats, said, I wish that you were disappeared. That is telling me that's a death threat right there.
Yeah, it is.
That's a death threat.
Yes,
and it came from this. And so I can probably even just throw that up there, because I screenshotted it, and it's going to go right exactly to the powers that be that I have connections to, which are beast level. It's like, screw you, you pieces of crap. It's like, go ahead and do that, because guess what? I'll probably get you first. And and I'm not afraid to do it either. So here it is. Let me throw this up here. I'll throw the death threat out here. And so everybody can see, without any shadow of a doubt, that this person means me harm, which now I'm going to say this because in the surveillance state, think about this. In the surveillance state, when they use things against us, guess what? Throw it out there because somebody's watching this and knows who this is. This was on my Telegram channel. There was a whole bunch of them that went there. Let me see if I can throw the rest of them out there. That it's somebody that has put my business out there, and they
and why wouldn't they sign their name?
Of course, because they're cowards.
Shits, excuse my language.
They're shits. You're absolutely right. They're cowards, and it's like so great. Guess what? You put it out there. You put it out there, right? Does that look like a death threat to you? It does me.
Me.
It absolutely is intentional. It is an intentional either way for somebody to try to get somebody else to do their craziness of harming me, or they're putting out there, wish you went missing. Okay, that's great, buddy. That's great. Let me see. I want to go to one more thing here because I thought this was interesting enough that let me see if I can find this a minute. This little idiot anti-Donna Brandenburg site. If you're going to step up in the public, you're going to see this kind of stuff. And if you're not willing to have this stuff seen, that's great. Then don't get in the arena because it's going to happen. It absolutely is going to happen. And it's like to see people that are this crazy. Oh yeah, it's going to happen. You can count on it. But are you going to fold over some moron like this, or are you going to actually figure out who it is and go after them, or put it up there to somebody who's in, say, military intelligence who's watching all the time? So I think that's the funny thing. They think they're doing this in the dark. The great thing is that if the right people are in fact, what the heck? Let me see if I can get this. I'll have to find it here. But if the right people are watching, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
And why wouldn't this moron want to engage you in a conversation to find out why you're doing what you're doing?
Oh,
what they expect you to be doing. Why wouldn't they do that?
They actually slandered me, and there's also libel in there.
Yeah, but rather than come up with this whole idea, come on your broadcast and talk with me.
Let's talk. Okay, coward. You coward. Why don't you come on and talk instead of sniping from the shadows? I'd be more than glad to talk with you about this in public where everybody can hear all your grievances against Donna Brandenburg instead of false allegations.
Yeah, because maybe they're brain dead. And they don't really understand what's going on, and they could be enlightened a little bit. Maybe that.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I'm going to see if I can. You know what? I'll bet you I can bring it up on X. I'll see what I can do because I think
maybe it was Whitmer that sent this out because Whitmer is brain dead to begin with.
Okay, so here it is. It is anti-Donna Brand, and interesting. So here, I'll even throw it out here so that everybody can see this moron. And here, it's like it's a loser, whatever it is. Hang on, I'm gonna just throw it out there, and we'll just put it in my Telegram channel so everybody can see exactly what. But they actually put stuff in there having to do with my business. There you go. Don't vote for Donna Brandenburg. And this there you go. He's got 3 following 1 follower. That's it. And so there's all sorts of things on this that are absolutely true. You know what I imagine it is? I imagine it's probably somebody I evicted because they're losers and didn't pay their bills. Or trash something. That would be my guess. So
so come on board and
talk. Prove it, you little puke. Come on forward, you little puke. And let's just see what you have to say. And you throw it out there in the public. I might just throw out whatever you've done in the public because I'm pretty sure that that's how this game works.
I don't know. sometimes they're just stupid people, and they just have something in their craw that maybe a discussion might fix. I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work. But, some people are just nasty.
Yeah, there's also
they don't know how to get over the nastiness.
Yeah, it's all false allegations that came in. It was kind of like, I was like, really, kind of interesting. It's only rigged when you buy votes, like you got caught doing. I didn't buy votes, you idiot. It was that's not what happened. There was no vote buying, so that's a false statement there too. But that's what they do, is they come and they snipe from the outside. So I'm going to bring Jalise on a minute, and we'll say,
I got to get out of here and myself anyway.
All right, so I'm going to quick play our thing, but it's good to talk with you always. So thanks for your input and such, John. Hopefully next week I won't be quite so distracted, but I've got a really big project sitting on my my table to, in fact, catch more of these people and make sure we have an honest and fair election. And I love this stuff. I love going after bad guys. This isn't something I can do. It's something I love doing. So with that said, we're going to go for a break, and I'll bring Jalise on. But thanks.
Before we go for a break, let me just say, go to magnificentrepublic.com. Next week on the 25th, we'll be at Nicola's for a face-to-face. If you have the courage to come out and see us face-to-face, or if you're local, some of you, like John, are in New Mexico, which would be a little bit of a drive to come. But we've had people come from way up north and way down south to Nicola's. So we'd love to see you. And the following week we'll be on Zoom. So there you go.
There we go.
Nice to talk to you all, and have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks, John. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye. Be right. Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. This is our second hour, September 17, 2024. And how you doing, Jalise?
I am doing great.
Awesome.
It's already been a morning. Looking
for
forward
real?
to it.
What's that?
I said it's already been a morning and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh my goodness, it's just crazy. It's like today was one of those days, that it's just been one thing right after another. And I'm kind of like, okay, we're just going to keep plugging away. I may be a little distracted, but I'm working on a couple of very, very large projects right now. And my brain is like this because I'm having to process so much data. It's crazy. So if I'm like kind of half here, it's like I've got like, a million computer screens open in my mind here that I'm kind of like chewing on them as I go.
The older we get, the less we're able to multitask.
I don't know. I don't see mine. It's just that I fill my head with more and more stuff. It's not less. It's actually I've expanded my craziness and taken more stuff on. But yeah, you're right. When somebody says that, like, I wish you went missing and that sort of thing, they're going to do that sort of thing. I'm laughing at them because it's like, okay, big dog, what you going to do?
Right, exactly. The way I look at it, number one, it tells me you're hovering over target and you're actually doing something. Number two, you're a threat to them because they're threatening back. And number three, that's the worst I got to throw at you. It's let's see if this button works.
Well, we had some BLM morons that were renting from us that literally would follow I'm assuming that this is one of the connections to this, because it happens. We had somebody that rented it for us, and immediately when they got in there, they started being really bad tenants, to the point of following our maintenance guys, denying access. They would try to deny access, but there's ways around that. But at any rate, because we have the right to maintain our property for whatever, and they would follow all of our guys, our maintenance guys, and guys is a Michigan term for guys and gals. They would follow them off the property, screaming pedophile and all of these other things that were absolutely not true, and go and follow them around town. This is what happens. And I'm going to tell you that people, if you are in the business of any owning any property or property management or anything like that, I could tell you stories that would make, I need to write volumes on this, that the way that people actually live, and it would really shock you. We just had one unit that I'm going to tell you right now. I will go on record and tell you, I believe with every part of my being that they were trafficking children in this unit. We called every organization to try to turn them in, and they all failed. They all failed. CPS failed. The police failed. We saw what was going on there. You can't just go in there and break in and that sort of thing, because there's legal ways of doing it. So I can tell you right now, every damn one of them is in on this, including CPS and the police.
Isaac Thomas talks about that. We brought him on the show. He was a child of the foster care system, and he has lawsuits filed where they sex trafficked him. CPS sex trafficked him.
I can tell you that's what's going on. And so when you see the way that people live on the ground, really on the ground, because you see everything when you're property management. This particular unit had bunk beds in the kitchen. There were 6 beds in this particular place. And the stuff that we found in there was very sobering and sickening. And there's not a damn thing that these people that are in the positions of power to help are doing to help. And so when you look at this, and then la-di-da, Catholic Services is right across the street and commandeered a parking spot right on public property in front of this building. And you know that they're paying for moving illegal immigrants, among other things. They're being paid for human trafficking. So is Lutheran Services, so is Bethany, the whole mess of them that are bringing in refugees are being paid for that. People, this is human trafficking. And then start looking at the proximity. It's a real concerning, convenient bit of information that needs to be investigated. And when you are in a position to call and say, we have a problem, and nobody is willing to do anything immediately, they're involved. And I'm not saying that
the government, because they know the government is who is doing the trafficking.
You bet it is. And what I'm saying, it wasn't Catholic Services that we called. It's the proximity that's a little concerning. But the police were called, CPS was called, and none of them did a thing. And the same thing happens with drugs, drug trafficking, and all that other stuff. And our places are pretty nice. I have put so much money into rescuing places. It's incredible. Nobody else in the town of the city has put as much into it as I am. I can guarantee you that. I've been told that. And so to fix fundamental problems and to buy things from, in fact, people who are slumlords who watch things fall apart. I buy the worst of the worst and I rehabilitate them. And so that's what I've done over the past 25 odd years or so. And it's like, so I've seen pretty much everything. You could tell me anything and I will not be surprised. And I mean, I can get into how they keep their emotional support animals and all that other things. But when you call them out for that sort of bad behavior, and see what people are capable of, I can tell you one situation that it would absolutely shock people. But this one gal, there was a group of, I can't get into all of it because people would absolutely be disgusted beyond. Maybe I should tell this story sometime. I should tell some stories. There were 4 roommates, and there were 2 very professional guys, and there were 2 gals one very professional woman and one woman that they signed on in a sublease, right? They were all working and such. The one that they signed in, they didn't vet her enough, and we vetted her kind of, but some of the stuff, you can't, until they get in, you can't find out. She literally would defecate in a towel and throw it out the window instead of going to the bathroom. Her roommates found it by kicking the towel, finding out that it was human feces in the towel. He got pink eye from it, among other things. And this is stuff that you find, and I'm not kidding you. This kind of behavior is not tied to what people think of as putting people in categories. This stuff happens whether your kids, and you think your kids are perfect. People think their kids are perfect. They put them into Calvin College. They put them into Cornerstone. We have people that come from most of our tenants now are about 40 years old or so. But those people that think their kids are their perfect little Christian kids, I'm going to tell you, I've got some news for you. There was one guy, he had this perfect little daughter that he kept telling it was all perfect. And I'm like, I don't want to be the one to tell you, but your little daughter is a stripper.
Oh my gosh.
And it's crazy. People would not believe what people are capable or what they do when the lights are off. I've seen it all. There's nothing that anybody could say or show me that would shock me at this point. And I'm dead serious. That story that I told you, there was some other things in it that you want to see the bottom of the barrel of human behavior. This woman was stealing or taking somebody else's, how am I going to say that, personal sexual gratification devices and using them, stealing them within the house. I mean, it gets so crazy. And I could make $1 billion on writing these stories down of what people are actually capable of. Not only what I've seen, but what people are truly capable of. I mean, we had one tenant who got mad at one of his roommates because he was just a little puke and kept going, I will cut you kind of crap. He literally tried to make sure his roommate's cat was killed.
Wow.
And his car was stolen. This is what people are capable of when they get their emotions, activated. And I'm not even talking about normal, I'm talking about people. This is going on, and it's going on in your backyard. The human trafficking is going on your backyard. The drugs, the prostitution, whatever you think. If you think you're living in a good neighborhood, there is no such thing anymore. You're just not seeing it.
Right. I agree with you. Honestly, it's biblical. I mean, the word says there's nothing new under the sun that you're not tempted with. The minute we start saying you people, instead of recognizing that if the circumstances were right, the situation was right, that you could fall prey to the very same thing. We always tend to think we're above it. And I think that's why we even become so hard on ourselves and unforgiving of ourselves along the way. It's because we thought we were above it. And then when we fall short of the glory of God, instead of going, I'm human and I failed, and take it back to the Father and say, here I am again, I need you again. Instead, we start beating ourselves up, which sends us further down that path of continuing to hate ourselves, self-loathing. Well, hurt people. So now you're treating everyone in your path atrociously, which is making them fall into the same cycle. And here we are in our society because of it. And it is all because we're not willing to humble ourselves and realize we've all sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And I agree. I think there's so much mental illness out there right now. And I'm always hesitant to even call it mental illness because I worked in the medical field with psychiatric patients, and I can tell you about 70 to 80% I saw as demon possession.
I believe you're right. I really believe you're right. You know,
I've seen people that definitely, showed what appeared to, or it could be generational sin. I don't know, but it appeared to be genetic. There was a good naturedness. There was a purity of heart. Oftentimes with bipolar, you see obsession with religion. You see things like that, but man, more often than not, you can see the demon possession just clear as day. And we've opened ourselves up to it by denying it. No one wants to be told you have a demon in you, but I bet we all do. I bet we all have a level of it.
Yeah, I tell you, there was one tenant we had who was, and I'm just tell a couple stories here. And we thought he was dead. He was into huffing and ended up having to check out something that was going. He had a pet rabbit that was running around in his apartment, thought he was dead. The guy went to the bathroom and never flushed the toilet.
Oh, wow.
And had disgusting pictures all over the place. Finally, a family member got a hold of him, and this was from an upper middle class family. So don't think that anybody out there is above where you think this is. This isn't a problem where you think it is. It's everywhere. It's just like the drugs. Drugs can hit any family at any time, and you will be shocked. Or some of the other things that are heartbreaking that we see those we love fall into these traps. And the minute we think that we're above it, God's gonna snap you right off your pedestal. And unfortunately, this is one of the gripes I have with the Christian church. We sit there and we speak Christianese full time, and we sit in our pews. I stopped going to church years ago because I was done with it. It was like I didn't like what I was seeing. So I mean, and that's the truth. I'm like, I can do church, in a different way. And we watched 4 churches fail. And the last one that we were in, and I would go in intercessory prayer or something. I had nothing to do with it. I just kind of quiet, but they were fighting over the music most of the time. And I'd go into intercessory prayer. And this one church, this woman got up in the middle of the church, running down the aisle, screaming at the pastor. And I'm sitting there with my children in the pew. And I'm like, if this is as good as it gets, I will not let my children be taught to hate God and see this sort of behavior that has no place here. This is not what God intended. So we just do church at home, and we did it a different way. And you know what? Jesus went to homes. He stopped going to, he didn't go into the synagogue necessarily. He went into homes.
Well,
and where the people are.
That's such a loaded thing because, the reality is we are the church.
We are the church.
Anytime you're condemning the church, you're condemning yourself. We are the church. The church isn't a brick building. So I don't care if you're meeting in your house, you're meeting at your neighbors, you're meeting at the creek with a bonfire. The real stability is, are you meeting with born again believers that are willing and strong enough to hold you accountable? More often than not, I see people calling church your friends, your what. No. These people won't hold you accountable. Who are the ones that will confront you in your wrong thinking and tell you, you're sinning against the Father with that mindset? Because that's what the church is called to do.
Well, go back to the NGOs. Go back to the NGOs that shut these churches down. Every single one of them should lose that nonprofit status. Every single one of them.
They shouldn't have had it in the first place.
I
don't agree with churches being a nonprofit.
I don't either.
Straight up tell you, I don't agree with it. They need to be telling the government, keep your stinking money. I don't need it. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's and get them out of your house.
It's a government church at this point.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And so that part is what's disgusting to me. However, the scriptures are clear that they state, do not forsake the assembling of the brethren. I do not believe you have a pass to be rogue. There is no Lone Ranger Christian. Every single symbolism from beginning to end in the word has us in fellowship with one another. We're sheep, the Hebrews together. Like, from beginning to end. And so, people that are above church, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan because you don't have that accountability.
Well, I think that we've got such a strong family and friend structure too, that there's a big difference there, that, we have a huge family and friend structure. And so, that actually cares about each other. And that to me is more important than just butts in the seat time. When I'm real critical of that. I'm super critical of that we'll sit there in church as long as, but there's not enough commitment to be involved like that in any reasonable way most of the time, because it's all about what am I getting from this instead of what am I giving. And that's a huge problem.
That is where it lies. Is, people are like, I'm not going to that church. Their music sucks. They fight over the carpet, whatever. And the thing is people don't take into account, you're only looking at it one side of what am I getting out of it? You're not looking at the side that maybe you were called there to make the difference. And if you were being the Christian you were called to be, then what happens is you're holding people accountable. You're ministering to them. Maybe they've gotten so far off track. Just because you're a pastor, you don't not get off track. I'm firsthand experience on this. And so, you got to be the one. You might have been the one the Lord trusted to walk in there. You're not called to be a division in the church. So if you can't come at it with humility and love and be willing to mentor them into a better place, you don't belong there. But I've had to leave a church because I was going to be the division in it. I was ready to flip tables. I couldn't believe what I'm seeing. I've left a church twice over that because it was to the point, it's like, I'm about to flip tables and it's going to cause a split in this church. And I knew it would. And that's not within, God's will either. But it is very much within your will when you see your brother falling to sin to confront. And if they don't listen, bring another and confront. And if they don't listen, bring it to the congregation and cast them from the church. And that's where the failure's at, is nobody's doing that. Nobody is doing that. And that's why we have lost control of the church.
I agree with that. It's like, it's too bad. I'm so critical about it because it just seems like going through the motions a lot of time. And there's no real commitment. And people think they can go to church on Sundays and walk away from it, and that's where it ends. And right. I have such a problem with that. I mean, it should be every day of your life, every minute of your day, following and walking with the Lord. I mean, that's what I feel like. You need to be walking with Jesus every step of the way and asking him, not just on Sunday so you feel good about being there, but I don't know. It's like, I can't sit through something that I fundamentally disagree with. Like what I saw, I won't do it. And it's
I went to a church for 3 years. In that church, I knew the pastor didn't know the Lord. Yeah. I'm not kidding. He couldn't even pronounce the easiest of words out of the Bible. Like when he was trying to read out of the Bible, at one point he could not pronounce Eden. No joke. Didn't know how to pronounce it. Okay. That tells me everything I need to know about you. But I also felt led to stay at that church because there were sheep not getting shepherded. There were people not getting discipled. And so we could impute truth into the word. We got to lead a Bible study and things like that. And just the lobby conversation that you're redirecting things that were said in the sermon that, so I stayed there 3 years, but I will admit when the COVID hit and he took the opportunity to shut down, it's like, I'm out. I can't do it. That's it.
Yeah. We do a lot of outreach in a different way. And I think that, I don't know. I think there's many ways, but I can tell you one thing that the flipping the tables over thing is a real possibility for some of the stuff I see within those spaces. And it's just not going to be a positive situation. Hang on a second. I'm reading in the chat here a minute. And I do think that we serve God many ways. So is your guest coming on here?
No, she cannot keep her connection. We have some Fed issues going on since last night. They are controlling J6 media more than normal. And so she's actually been on hold on the phone here, but she said it's cutting out so bad she can't hear half the time, which I do have the volume down right now. So let me see if she's able to, but she's given me a heads up that she is struggling. Let's see. Hey, Suzanne, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, barely. Do you have me on speaker or on the phone?
On the phone now. Let's see if that makes it does that make it any better?
Not well, you're faint, but we can hear. How can the listeners?
Can you put it next to the microphone?
I think I'm actually there. Let's see.
Yeah, then
Can you hear now? Talk to us for a minute, Suzanne.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
It's still too faint for everyone, isn't it? Because it's real faint for me even. Hold on, maybe I got my phone volume down. Oh, I do.
Maybe that helps.
Hey, does that help everybody?
There you go. Now you can hear. Well, I'm going to pass this off for you because I've got some projects that I have to do. So I'm going to leave this in your capable hands, and we will.
Now we have another person coming on at 10. Will there be somebody to be able to link him into the show, or will he come straight in?
I can. Can you see? You should see on the bottom of your computer. Can you see the people on the bottom of the screens?
No. I've anybody backstage. It only shows me.
Okay, so give me a text and I will come and I'll drop him in at 10 o'clock your time, 11 o'clock our time. So there you go, guys. We're going to move into our day today and seek God in all things first. I'm just going to leave that there, no matter what it is, no matter what your path is or where he says that you're supposed to go. If you're in the mission field or if you're in a church, whatever it is, work for him and listen to him. So at any rate, please go to brandenburgforgovernor.com. I am the best non-conceder who has ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And, God bless you all. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. And we're in some really trying times, and it's going to take people that are willing to stand on their principles no matter what, and to continue to go forward and refuse to back down. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much. And look at her. The DS just hung up on me.
Seriously?
She just messaged me that she got hung up on. She's going to try to call back in. So we've got some connection issues, but I'm putting out a message to our next guest to just text me when it gets there, and we'll get him set up and on there.
That's good. I'll wait a minute till you come back on. I've got a project I have to get moving on, and otherwise I'd stay on today. But kind of like got slapped in the face with like a holy Moses, I got to get this thing figured out situation. And also, if they're having bad connectivity, we can always move it to another day too.
We may have to do that. She just sent a message and said, please tell your people to call their Republican Congress members and ask them to issue a statement of public support for J6 pardons. And I think that is really a really good outreach. People are always asking how to help the J6ers. That would be a really good one, because these Congress members are running scared, which we have talked about so much. And so anyway, we'll do what we need to do. You said Wednesday we're going to be off the air. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've got 2 interviews scheduled that day. So why don't we just end this today? And then because we're having there's too many problems here, and we've definitely got attack today, which is okay. We'll be back on tomorrow. And I think that, the most important thing we can do is we've got to work on our mental health, and so we don't go into crazy land and just keep going. Don't ever get coerced into something you feel convicted on or that you feel is wrong. I don't care who it is. Right. I really don't care who it is, because God has a different path for every single one of us. And it is important to realize that in these times, we're kind of some uncharted times, and the strength of the individual that can, in fact, follow God through the maze of what we're going through is a big challenge right now. But we're not alone, and God is leading us out of the problems that we're having. Do you want to pray, or you want me to pray this morning?
Well, I would love to hear you pray. They hear me every day. Let's hear you.
Okay. I would love to that. I love to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so very much for being with us this day. And there are so many things that we're being confronted on a daily basis. And we ask that you would give us a clarity of mind and a focus to focus on you and do what it is that you ask us to do. No matter what it is, we're willing to follow you. No matter if it's counterintuitive, we're willing to follow you. And no matter if it breaks with the paths that we think that we should take. First and foremost, we're citizens of your kingdom. We are absolutely here to follow you, and it is a privilege and an honor to take part in your good works. We ask that you would open the eyes of this nation, and we're very troubled by the fact that we're seeing so much of a individual failing on people holding a standard of integrity and honor. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And we ask that you would keep each and every one of us accountable to you, and that we would stop and check our behavior every step of the way, that we would know that that we are making the right decisions, not based on what human beings want, but based on learning to be more like you. We want to be like you. You're our example, and everything that we do right, it's only because you help lead us in that direction, and we're so thankful for that. We ask that you would help us get a grasp on the fact that you love us, that you have redeemed us, that it's by the blood of Christ and what you did for us on the cross that we can come to you and talk with you and walk with you. And that relationship with you is our most precious, precious gift that you could have ever given us. The second precious gift you've given us is each other. And we ask that you would give us your eyes to see the people around us, to see how they approach life being under the pressures and the hurt that they're all carrying, and that we could rise above that and be full of grace and mercy, but also accountability when it needs to happen, so that more people aren't hurt through the actions of those that maybe are not making the right choices in life and that are doing the wrong thing. We ask that you would protect every single child out there that is in harm's way, that you would convict in a absolute unquestioning way those people in CPS and our government and the police departments and those that are in the seat of power, that they would be absolutely rocked off of their feet with their current behavior, and that you would turn them around so that they would be mighty warriors that will stand and do the right thing because they've seen it and they've experienced it, and that they're immovable in defending the rights of others, the innocents in this world, both born and unborn. We thank you so much for the opportunity to participate. You don't need us. We know you don't need us to do this, that you can do this all by yourself, but that you're giving us the opportunity to walk through this with you so that we can learn and that we can share in these works that you've set in front of us. Help us to have your eyes to see those things around us that we are supposed to be doing, that we wouldn't rely on systems that we can hide behind, but that we would be individually on a walk with you and with others to do your good works, and that we would break those chains that bind us to this satanic system that is absolutely running rampant about it. We want to see all these systems torn down, all the idols, all of those things we think are safety, and realize that the only safety, the only true safety, the only true security we have is our relationship with you and walking with you, walking by your side. You are our best friend. We honor you with acknowledging that all good things flow from you. We have no ability to do any good thing apart from that, and that you are our everything, our banner, our provider. you teach us how to love in unconditional ways that nobody can do without you being here. The only reason why we can love is because you first loved us, and you show us what true love is. And we're so thankful for that. We ask that you would protect President Trump, that you would bless Admiral Rogers and General Flynn and all those who have laid themselves and their lives on the line for not only this nation, but for your kingdom and humanity and your creation here. It's a beautiful thing that you created. And we're really sorry that, that we all had a part in wrecking it. But we all also know that we can ask you, and that you can right things that are wrong as our Redeemer, our healer, and our Lord and our Savior. Thank you so very much for that. We ask for your favor on Jalise and every single J6er that is out there today. Give everyone peace, and peace that passes understanding, knowing that there's no situation that's too big for you, and that for whatever reason that you've allowed it to be there in front of us, we're going to take that as a challenge, whether it's cancer or incarcerations or anything like that, and say, what do you want us to do with the time that you've given us today and every day? And we're willing to walk that walk, and we just love you so very much. Thank you for being a great friend to us. We want to be a friend to you. Help us to see the truth in the world around us, and to act on it by your power and your strength, that they wouldn't see us, that they would only see you. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I like praying.
You pray good.
I don't know if I pray good. I just say what's on my mind usually. Sometimes I'm like, okay, God, all right, this is a little more than what I wanted to deal with today, but what are we going to do with it?
Right, exactly.
And
it's
sometimes
like
you just go, God, I'm pretty mad about this. In fact, I am really mad about this situation. And he already knows anyway. You might as well be honest with him,
That's right. It's making us stronger.
Yeah, so
and we're going to need it somewhere. That's right.
So God bless you all. God bless all those whom we love, and God bless America. Thanks for being here today. We'll see you tomorrow. Going to be a great show tomorrow. And know that you're loved. You're important. You're loved. You're not a mistake. And God created you exactly as you are, with the talents, the gifts, the way you see the world. And even if it doesn't jive with approval of other people around you, you have to follow that voice when God's telling you to do things. And that's an important skill to have. It's listening to God. And we will see you tomorrow. Hang on the line a minute, Jalise.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bye.